Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel, where we've got the TNT takes for you on the Challenge 40, episode 6. That is right, it's my favorite time of the week. It's Kahuna and I. We're going to be live. We're going to be talking about all of the action of the last week, and I feel like a lot has happened. And finally, Kahuna, we've got a definitive winner in an arena where we're not going to come into this podcast questioning production, right? Like this was as clear cut as it can get.
Yeah, like I still have questions for production, not on terms of outcome, but maybe in some of the choices they make, as always. But I mean, we always break everything like that down. So I don't. Yeah, you're right, and that's not a good thing to go in like a season like season 40 to go. Oh my God, we had a week without a controversial ending where we're questioning the validity or integrity of production, right?
Well,
Like that's not a good sign.
Well, we spoke about this before. We've said, like, is it maybe by design, like they're doing these things so that they can create controversy, so more people talk about the show, more people want to tune in to see what's going on. You know, everybody loves a good, spicy bit of drama, right? So maybe that is the angle they went with in season 40. I'm not too sure, but I, for one, am glad that I saw an episode where I don't feel like there was much that they could have rigged on this specific elimination. We'll talk a bit about the elimination later on when we get to it. But for now, let's say hello to Danica. Apparently, there's a hurricane over there at the moment, so the weather's really bad. So maybe in and out in the live. Danica, please stay safe. Hollis, welcome to the live, saying as well, stay safe, Danica. I'm in Tampa, so it looks like another wind and rainstorm for us. And then Chris, like all of the locals from Florida here, saying, same, Danica, I'm getting hit by feeder bands right now. So really hoping all of you are staying safe over there. And thank you for, even just I feel humbled that you guys are even tuning in to listen to us when there's a storm on that side. And I'm sure just to keep us on track and make sure that we don't go off the script too much, Kuna. Live keeps us very honest always. One of the things I wanted to jump into right off the bat, because I kind of feel like when you talk about it, you can move on from it very quickly. Let's start off at Laurel and Cara again. There was a little bit more of the Laurel Cara dynamic that came back, obviously, in this episode. Again, I feel like production very much chose to protect Laurel throughout the previous episode. Again, protecting Laurel here. There wasn't anything mentioned about Cara being removed from the game and having to go see a therapist outside of the game based on some of the things that happened between Laurel and herself. And then probably the biggest storyline here is that Cara Maria once again just proved that she is the bigger person by actually not throwing the challenge. Maybe it's not a smart thing for her not to have done it. Like, I feel like game-wise she should have done it, but clearly she's taking the moral high ground in this moment, Kuna. And she had all the right to just sit down on the challenge or pop all those balloons and make it very difficult for someone like Laurel to not go into the arena. And she chose to be the bigger person in this moment, which is why we love her, right? She is just, I think that it shows the difference between Laurel and Cara Maria pretty clearly for people who are still in doubt who's in the right between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right, though. Like, as far as it being the right decision, like, to me, this illustrates. Now, I'm going to say something here that may get you offside at first, but I'm going to get you back. I promise, Chris. I'll bring you right back on side, okay?
I'll try not to jump the gun.
This is one of Cara's flaws for me. This is what makes her an imperfect competitor, is because she doesn't see the game move. And I've always said she's very controlled by her emotions, which actually has been used against her in the game as well. And in this instance, I'm really glad that she has, because you're right, she is the better person for it. But having said that it is a flaw in her game. It makes her a weaker competitor. It is also adds to the argument as to why she's the greatest, is because she doesn't have the most complete, perfect game, but yet still has done the most and achieved the most and is the greatest female competitor, despite having this instinct where she won't put the dagger in, even despite her rivalry, like really heated, venomous rivalry. She's not willing to put the boot in. And that's a, is that a negative? Is that a positive? As a person, absolutely. From a meta game strategy point of view, it's a weakness. But as I said, it's part of what builds her legacy is that she has these flaws and is still the best.
Yeah, absolutely crazy that even playing at a handicap, like you said there, by being a good person, maybe not always having that killer instinct, she still finds a way to get to the end consistently in every single challenge season that she plays. She's been to so many finals, but I do think that in this game, I'm feeling less confident about Cara getting to a final at the moment. I just don't know who she's got, and there are some very strong, dominant alliance members with the Vacation Alliance. I mean, it's now a thing that they're acknowledging, and I feel like they're giving the live audience they're basically giving them the middle finger, saying, "Yes, we are the Vacation Alliance. Yes, we know you hate it. You hate us because you ain't us." Is basically what they're saying at this stage. And there's a part of me, Kahuna, that I have to say I'm turning around on them. I'm like, I love this. They're owning their villain status. They're owning the fact that they're a bunch of friends that are like doing this in the game. And at this point, you can't hate on them. You got to hate on production for constantly casting them again. Like, I'm kind of Team Vacation Alliance at the moment. Like, I don't know what's going on. What's that dilemma that they have when you've been? It's like the prisoner's dilemma. You've been held captive by them for so long that you start thinking you're their friend.
Stockholm
Syndrome. Are you getting that as well? Like, I'm like, what's happening? Why am I liking
I mean,
all of them?
I've always been pretty okay with the Vacation Alliance, you know, like much to the dismay of many fans out there. I'm all right with it. I don't like Josh as an individual part of it, but overall, and I don't like Fessy, I guess, but he's kind of been a step down in that whole Vacation Alliance in recent seasons. But yeah, I do like them owning it as well. Like, it's out there, and like you said, like, I think it's one of those things where for the fans, it's a real nod. We get to be like, oh, like the fandom actually influence, and they listen, they hear us, and now it's actually in the show. But for those who aren't deep in the fandom, it's just another cool like name. Like when they come up with the Secret Garden, they come up with all that's the
Lavender
cookout and all
Ladies.
that sort of thing. Yeah, the Team Young Buck, the Lavender Ladies, and it's just another name. It's the Vacation Alliance. But for us, it's like wink, wink, like, you know, we got you. We see you. You know what I mean? And that acknowledgement is good. That little play with the audience and stuff, I appreciate. Yeah, I don't know about the throwing up the gang signs with the handshake.
Yeah, I don't know if I can endorse that, but Chris and Lena is definitely disappointed in that take from us. Morning to you as well, Lena. Welcome to the live. Brittany is saying, I think that's her downfall because she's always setting her expectations too high for others, which is why she takes things so personally. Very true. Brittany says, I think it's kind of annoying because the Vacation Alliance conversations don't seem natural. And then Danica saying, maybe Fessy is on the outs of the Vacation Alliance. Well, he's not on the season. Fessy doesn't like anyone in that alliance besides Casey and Josh, and that's true. Like, I think he's only close really to Casey and Josh in the game. But
I feel like he doesn't like Josh either, right?
Yeah, let's shift gears for a second here. I'm sure we'll come back to the Vacation Alliance because they did have some power in this episode. But let's talk a little bit about the targets heading into this week and into this episode. We had Brad, Bananas, Corey, and Josh, all targets for the men. And then Rachel, Laurel, Janae, and Jenny. And, you know, we start off this episode kind of with Jenny being upset at everyone, Kona, because she's upset that she doesn't have connections in the game. And yes, it's kind of unfair because she hasn't consistently been coming back season after season to build these connections. But I thought, you know, for someone that a lot of people say is a wallflower and she doesn't bring any entertainment to the game, Casey kind of summed up Jenny's game really well. And people maybe won't like the message because of who it came from. But, you know, Casey saying that you need to work, you need to be able to build those connections. You can't just be talking about fitness, your guinea pigs, and chocolate on the show. And then literally them showing her talking about that on the confessionals. You know, Jenny obviously is a stunning looking woman. She's in great shape and everything, but does she maybe have a very bland personality and she's just finding it difficult to connect to people in the game? And then also she hasn't come back very often, that it's kind of a double-edged sword for her coming into the season. And instead of complaining, she probably should just, you know, go out on the arena and show out there what you've got, basically, instead of complaining about it at this stage. What's your take on this?
It is really ironic that it came from Casey, which is the funniest thing. She's like, all we know is these three things, which, you know, is probably 3 more things than we know about Casey as far as this season goes. Anyway, like Casey, her only things this season is to actually like shit on other people. Like actually twice on Jenny. She sort of called her out in the challenge for not having stamina and endurance, and now this saying she's got a bland personality. Look, she's getting good at it, Jenny, as far as her personality goes. If she really is that bland of a personality, they're showing her be quite happy and like out there. And then again, now showing a fiery side where she actually gets upset and gets a little bit of screen time and drama by being so, right? Like that's not Casey like level of wallflower. She's actually interacting and having stuff come up. I like Jenny. Maybe it's because of that bias that I'm like, no, like she's cool with me. Like I'm okay with it. And maybe because I also like a little bit of weirder, quirky personalities. Who knows? But she's not cool enough for Casey, apparently.
I don't think it's a case of the fans not liking Jenny or anything like that. I think we all wanted to see Jenny come back for many seasons. I think Casey's just pointing out that you can't just complain about being on the outs. You've got to work to get in the ends, right? And like Brittany says here, unfortunately, Casey did have a great point. Casey actually puts effort into her social game. It doesn't seem like Jenny does. And Jenny does have some connections, but it also seems like she only gets along with certain people. Obviously, one of those people that she gets along with really well is Bananas. Bananas' social game is off the charts again this season. It's why he's won 7 titles, because he knows how to put on the pressure when he needs to. And let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously in this episode we see Era 4 dominate, and we'll circle back, talk about the daily and our thoughts on that. But they end up dominating this, with Josh and Jenny having all the power. Banana sitting next to Laurel, I think couldn't have been in a more compromised position coming into this week, with Laurel being public enemy number 1 for so many people in the house. Like, I think it would have been a foregone conclusion that Laurel would have gone in if she sat next to anybody else in the game. But Bananas, the GOAT of this game. Yes, I said it, the GOAT. The guy's won 7 times, and maybe not the GOAT when it comes to personality, but definitely the GOAT when it comes to championships. Once again, showing us a masterclass of how to put pressure on certain individuals in the game and how to milk it for all you're worth. Like, he's already gotten screwed once in the game by Josh, and man, did he make Josh feel it this episode. And then obviously having that connection with Jenny sitting next to him. Like, I feel like he did a Houdini. Like, how did he get out of this position? There is no way the Banana should not have been nominated in this round.
First of all, before I go on about Bananas, just Laurel, knowing what you just said, right? And Laurel had at some point said, I can't believe they're not putting me in. Like, how can they? Like, it's because of who you're with. Like you said, literally anyone else, it's guaranteed Laurel goes in. But Bananas, like you said, putting on a masterclass of how, yes, he got done over by Josh, but anytime he's been hit or hurt in the past, he stores it, right? It's either going to be fuel in the future for revenge, or it's capital that he can actually use. So like that's why he's so good at the game, is because he knows what to use, how to use it. I've got an invader here. You want to say hello?
Yeah, let them say hello to everybody.
Say hi.
Hello.
All right, say bye-bye.
Right, bye. We've got a future podcaster in the room. Training them young, Kahuna. If you get him involved early enough, he could be the future Bananas. Like, he just needs to listen, not to you, but to me when it comes to the strategy side of the challenge.
Sometimes he talks better than me, and I swear he outsmarts me in a lot of things. So, he might already be setting it up. Yeah, he's definitely got me outwitted in a lot of things. But yeah, Bananas, like he'll store it, he'll save it, he'll use whatever possible can, and it showed the difference between what these players are. Because you're right, Josh, the absolute right decision would have been to put Bananas in, and if it wasn't going to be to put Bananas in, then the absolute worst possible thing is to go to your team and say, I'm not just making this decision by myself. I want all of your input. We're going to make this as a team. and then
And then
ignore
ignore
it completely.
You know what it
Yeah.
reminds me of? You know what it reminds me of? It's like that. I don't know how many people that listen to us work in a corporate environment where whenever there's a position that becomes available internally for promotion or to get across to another department, the worst thing that a business can do is say to everybody in the business that there is an internal expression of interest open to everybody and everybody should apply when they've already made up their mind of who they're going to employ in it. Because now you're getting people's hopes up, you're getting them involved in the process, and then you dash it by the end by saying, hey, sorry, so-and-so from external actually got the job because, you're never really good enough and we were never going to look internally. And in any case, that's the message that Josh sent in this moment. Like I thought two big strategic blunders from Josh this week really for me was the fact that he firstly tried to involve them and make it sound like this was a team decision and gaslight them. And then secondly, backstabbing Corey in the game, somebody that he's never backstabbed. And you know how I say this? Bananas maybe is a guy of influence. Bananas is a guy who's got production's ear, but I also think that production loves Josh at the same time. So I don't think he's in any danger of going anywhere anytime soon when it comes to the challenge. We'll see him for many more seasons, right? If you look at Corey and you look at Bananas right now, maybe Corey's got a little bit less social capital in this season, but who's got the most longevity in future seasons? Bananas or Corey? Who's more likely to come back the most in the next 5 to 10 years? Bananas or Corey? It's Corey. It's not Bananas. Bananas is at the end of his challenge career. I wouldn't be surprised if after the season we don't see him back on a main show for a couple of seasons because he does like to take breaks and things like that. A lot of the OGs are starting to do that, and then they come back after they've had 2 or 3 seasons off. I think this was a big mistake by Josh. He's already betrayed Bananas. Bananas he will not think twice to backstab Josh this season and say, well, that is still payback for the USA because I still owe you one. So I just feel like it was a bad decision, mate. Like, what was he thinking?
Yeah, I mean, Corey's definitely an MTV golden boy as well, right? Like, as far as maybe not necessarily with the challenge specifically, but he's definitely in the good books of MTV as a whole, being on Teen Mom and the whole lot. Like, he is in the family, you know what I mean? Like, just as in as Bananas, So you're right. It could have been. Look, I don't know. Corey's had a couple of seasons off as well. He's got the thing where he keeps saying, I can't be away from the kids that much. These seasons are like, what, 10, 12 weeks at a chop or something like that. Like, it's a hard ask for a young dad. Like, I know I wouldn't be able to do all the seasons that Corey does for sure, if any at all, to take that much time off. But
it's his job.
It is his job, and he's making money for his family. But if that's how you're making the bet, I don't know. Like, you're right. Corey's definitely younger and going to be around a lot longer. And as I said, he's not going anywhere as far as MTV goes as well. So that's right there. But I don't know, man. Josh is just such an emotional, like, emo girl. Like, he gets in his feelings a lot, and he knows what he did to Banana, and he just doesn't want to go through that again because it was the hardest thing he's ever done in his entire life. Like, it was way harder on him than it wasn't Bananas. Like, we saw in this episode for Josh to even say, like, in his confessional, which I think is the funniest thing. Like, when someone is so, like, there are certain things that annoy you and are definitely negatives, but for some reason, when it happens enough times or on a long enough timeline, those things that are really dumb and annoying actually are kind of like funny, like endearing, like it's what makes them, like, he's a goof. And at the start it's annoying, but now it's like, yeah, he's a lovable goofball. He's an idiot. Like,
he's harmless. Josh is harmless. In the beginning, beginning, it kind of annoyed me a little bit because he came in like he was all that, but he wasn't. But I think he's been humbled enough over many seasons now that it's not coming from that same place of like, I'm the Big Brother winner, I'm a great strategist, I'm going to manipulate everyone. That's how he was in the beginning. I think he kind of knows his place in the challenge world right now, and it's not like he is someone that's trying to get to the top of the mountain. He hasn't achieved the top of the mountain, right? But again, yeah, I just don't see it. But if people ask, why does Josh keep getting casted for the challenge? This week was a great example of why. He is a producer's dream, like just the inner turmoil, like, the whole dramatic thing when Bananas brought up the Challenge USA, and he said, for Bananas to do that, like, he doesn't understand how much that have haunted me for so many, nights outside of the game, and I've had sleepless nights. Like, he just milks every little minute out of that. But, the person who came out of this looking the best, again, was Bananas. Like I said, he should have been in there. Let's read a couple of comments from people here. Alina saying, thank you, Chris. Someone agrees Bananas is by far the GOAT, all capitals. And Chris is saying, oh, hi to your son. Dolores is saying, hello all. And hello, Dolores. Welcome back to the live. I hope that you're staying safe. I'm hearing there's some storms over in Florida at the moment. Brittany is saying, to be honest, Josh is lucky that Bananas wasn't given an opportunity to get back at Josh first. Josh was given the opportunity to make it right before that could happen. I think Bananas will do it regardless and say, sorry, buddy, I still owe you one. And that's why I think he made a mistake. Danica saying, last week we got the visit from the new puppy. Now the kids, it's TNT family hour whenever you come on. Brittany saying... Yeah, Brittany is saying it's funny because Josh has screwed Corey over before and he doesn't seem compelled to make that right. Danica saying, morning, Dolores. Stay safe during the storm. Dolores also says, I work in compliance for a large corporation. Chris, you are so on track. And then says, dang, I don't want to, but I have gone soft on Josh. Do I want him to win? No, but just a wee bit further. Yes, I agree. Like Josh is harmless. He's harmless, man. Like, I don't know. People should just, I think, especially without Fessy, Josh is even more likable. Them together, definitely not likable.
Yeah.
Brittany says it was smart for Tori to recognize that she is not at the top of Bananas' list, even though they've worked together in the past. Totally agree. Danica says All-Stars is the perfect transition for Era 1 and 2 players. And let's talk a little bit about that. Era 1, Kahuna. What is going on here? Like, if there's ever an argument to be made that the OGs should stay with All-Stars and have OGs play against OGs and let the new school players play the new school, like, it's not looking good for the old school players playing this game. They're dropping like flies one after the other. What is going on? Is it that they physically can't hang? Is it that just a lot of them have been out of the game for too long? Like, they're not used to the level. Is the new level of competitors coming into this game just that much more superior compared to what we had back in the day? What is it? And I don't know if fans are ready to have that conversation. They may not be more entertaining, but physically, the new eras may just be at different levels compared to the OGs, right?
Well, except for the fact that Derek apparently is Superman and can heal broken bones. Like, that's pretty impressive. Like, that's really good. He
broke his leg and it mended in the same episode. He's still there.
Yeah, then we never hear another thing about it. He's at the nightclub. He's at the thing. He's cool. Yeah, man. Like, look, I'm a man of a certain vintage, much like these OGs. And I've never, ever been an advocate of like, oh, yeah, you're back in my day. Like, when real men, today's athletes and sports and stuff are just like, like, I know that the advancement of human civilization and the way people approach things in more scientific methods, the way they treat their body, everything is just insanely more competitive. Like, I apply the same thing to the NBA, like football, like when they say, oh, they used to play against plumbers, like back in the day, and they literally did. I feel like it's a little bit the same with the challenge of the early challenges, even the challenges they had in the thing itself, as well as the fact that they were all just party kids drinking their ass off, like doing whatever. They didn't really have the same approach to the game as what these people do now, who have it as their job. Like you said with Corey, right? This is their profession and they approach it as such. And there's also, I think, a big part of it as well, by the way, Chris, is that the age skew is changed a lot over the years as well. When the OG started, the fact that it was 20 years ago, it's because they were 20, they're still in their 40s now. But Era 4, like, the average age is like 32 or something like that. Like, They're
Mm.
not the same kids that like the OGs were or Era 1 were. These are like proper adults that approach it with a professional mentality, all that sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's a very different ball game, and the challenges have got a lot more physical. The approach to the game has changed a lot more. There's a lot less drinking. There's a lot less partying. It's taken a lot more seriously by people that take the game a lot more seriously and make it their entire job. Like it's a world of
Yeah.
difference.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, when $1 million are at stake sometimes in some of these seasons, you're going to train your ass off to try and win it. Where back in the day, they were playing for, I don't know, PlayStations and different sorts of things that
Yeah.
weren't nearly the level of cash that's involved right now. Lena did say it's sad, though, because they are absolute TV gold. Brittany is saying, I think they're not used to doing these tougher challenges. Do you think they would have done better individually because the male side was stacked? I do think certain individuals would have done better individually in the game. So, yeah, I mean, CT comes to mind, for instance, as someone that has proven quite recently still that he can win seasons. But, you know, when you're that age, even going from when I think he was 40 when he won his last challenge, he's like 42, 43 now, and he's been out of it for a couple of years prior to coming back. Like that does make a difference at that age coming back into the game. Lena saying much respect for Derek K. And then Danica saying, I think the broken leg will come back in next week's episode. I really thought that they would should have had Derek swap places with Brad or have Derek sacrifice himself for Brad. And I think that's a good point. If the fact that they ended up losing a male, if Derek could have swapped out, if his leg wasn't good, that would have been good. But I feel like Derek is the kind of guy that the medics would have to tell him you're no longer playing the game. Like I just feel like
medics.
he would, yeah. Well, he would be hobbling on one leg in the next daily if he needs to. And then King Cash is saying, I mean, Jordan won a final with a broken leg, so Derek can at least finish a daily challenge. LOL, that is very true. And then Danica saying the rules in the games were different then, but at the same time, they're also 20 years older than everybody else. And I think that is making a huge difference. Now, we kind of touched a little bit on the daily, Kuna. What was your thoughts on this daily? For me personally, I absolutely freaking loved it. Like,
Yeah.
I love the big balloons. I love the fact that there was these spikes that they had to like navigate through and take their time. And then it was just so funny to see Era 4 be the only team to actually, I don't know, put two and two together, that it didn't matter the speed. It mattered how many balloons you got to the other side. And then certain people were just like, you know, I know King Cash is a big Jordan fan. I'm a big Jordan fan. But when we talk about Karma Ria's weakness, right? Jordan's weakness is that he doesn't know how to go anything less than 200% on every single challenge, and he expects it from every single other person that is running the game with him, to the point where he's not always the greatest team member to people that he's in the team with. And it absolutely like imploded on Era 3, and they didn't have a good day because of that. Obviously not as bad as Era 1, but you know, again, fun challenge, loved it. Visually it was appealing. I just want to know how they act. What was those balloons made out of? What do you reckon it was made out of? Because it didn't look like the normal balloons. Like it looked like kind of, I don't know. It was my head was like spinning. What did they make it out of?
It's whatever type of balloon that is that I give to my kids, because as soon as I give them a balloon, I hear a pop and then crying like 2 minutes later.
It looks
But
kind of.
that was fun
Look at
though,
this.
just seeing them pop in their hand, just randomly, like
like that. And it's when you see it there in Janae's hand where it's popping, it's got that, you know, it's got that like powdery substance that comes out like almost like a latex glove. So it must have been like latex or something that they made these balloons out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to be, I guess they had to be pretty easily poppable, because if balloons that size, generally, like we're talking like weather balloons and stuff, they're going to be pretty hardy. They need to stand up to things, but this needs to be able to pop to make the challenge more difficult. So yeah, I'd say they're just giant sheets of latex.
Yeah, it must be. But it was so much fun seeing them navigate this. You know, Derek there on the ground, you know, crawling, and they're like, "We'll take it over." He's like, "No, I can hobble. I can hobble on my one leg. I can still take it." You know, and then ultimately they had to uncover or solve a riddle and then unlock a combination lock. what is it with the challenge and combination locks on different dailies, like, and finals? Like, I feel like, do they have a
Digital.
sponsor? Do they have like a sponsor, a certain
Yeah,
lock
my
company that
master lock.
sponsors the show? Because it's like you have to have at least 2 or 3 dailies with locks in it.
Yeah, that's right. Sponsored by Master Lock for your security needs. Um, yeah, I mean, I like the challenge as well. The daily as well, like the balloons visually, and like just so they could get those wide shots and have all these balloons up in there. It looks really good, but I still feel like it could have been better. I don't like the clunkiness of era 2, or was it era 3? Era 2 winning first, getting the slow-mo shot, and Bananas has got picks up the freaking Era 2 shield and all this sort of thing, and it looks really good.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden TJ goes Era 4-1, who came in third. Like they could have had the same exact visuals of the balloons, the same difficulty challenge of getting it under, blah blah blah, but just have it like your team has 10 balloons. As soon as you get your 10 balloons over, then you can go to the puzzles and the locks and the blah blah blah, right? So you're still gonna get them popping in their face. They're still gonna get like the same sort of issue, like whatever number you make it, it's still exactly the same process. But we get to see someone win and race to the end and actually
I
win
get it.
without production,
I get
right?
it. I get it. But for me personally, like, I think visually it's more compelling when you see someone cross the finish line, that they're in first place, and it makes it easier to know, oh, okay, they finished the fastest, they're in first place, they got the most balloons to the other side. There's a part of me that loves the fact that they actually tested your attention to detail on this one, like what we would see in the Amazing Race, where sometimes teams just don't actually listen to the finer details of a challenge, and they'll completely stuff it, and then they have to go back and do it again. This is kind of what it reminded me of. So I don't mind it for like one episode, like that they tested their attention to detail, that, hey, it's not about how fast you get there, it's whoever's got the most balloons on the other side, because that kind of made it a guessing game for them. Like, am I ahead of the team next to me? How far ahead am I? Because there was a lot of balloons at their station on the other side. But for me personally, I wasn't too upset by that. I do want to talk about, actually, before we go into that, let's have a look at a few comments here. We've got Brittany saying, I love how grateful Era 1 is to be there. Brad is such a sweetheart. And I definitely got that from Brad as well. Brad seems like a very lovable guy. Maybe we'll talk about Brad a little bit when we talk about the eliminations and the final outcome. And then Brittany says the daily looked really hard, but I don't get how the balloons overtake finishing fast that much. So I think Brittany is agreeing with you, Kahuna, on that one. And then Danica saying, considering Era 1 was short so many players, and then basically Derek breaking his leg and hobbling through the rest of it made them even slower, made it harder for them to get the balloons, I think. Very true. And then Brittany is saying that's true. Having less people is definitely a big hindrance in the dailies we
Well,
see so far. I feel like you should be able to, kind of like in Sports Guna, you should be able to get like a medical swap. Like, as soon as
yeah,
that happened to his leg, they should have been like, okay, we can tag someone else in due to medical reasons, right?
for your rounds, for when you need to run, it can actually be Darrell instead or whatever it is. Yeah. But with Derek breaking his leg and he had to crawl, it might have actually helped bring the balloons under the spike because he was so close to the ground. He had to like crawl along. Where, by the
No, I
way,
totally agree.
compared to what we saw with Andy on Survivor the other day, where he kind of just sort of sat down in the shade and Jeff was like, "Are you okay? Medic, medic, medic." Derek's
Mate.
like, "I broke my leg." Literally screaming on the ground.
Mate, it's the difference
What is
in,
going on?
I might, like, that is why I'm like, I don't want to make this another Survivor rant, but that's why I'm struggling to watch Survivor. I'm like, I know that there are better people that you can cast in the whole of America than what we're getting on Survivor season after season right now, because the new generation of people that are getting casted onto Survivor, a lot of them are just very soft, right? Derek is from a different generation. He's from a different time. He's from the have a teaspoonful of concrete and harden the F up generation. And I appreciate that. And that is why when it comes to the challenge and Survivor, it's chalk and cheese. So the challenge is running circles around Survivor as a better product and a better show with better characters to follow at the moment. Again, first weekend on Survivor. Don't want to go too hard on 47. There's a whole season ahead of us. But I would rather see challenges go over to Survivor.
I'm going to spoil it today.
Yeah, don't spoil us for tonight either, please. We're going to be watching Survivor after this. Lena's saying Gen X. I don't know what's going on, Lena. You got to tell me what's going on with these casting people that they're putting on the show. But I wanted to
more like going on about production, not doing anything about him, like not even stopping for a second to like.
Yeah, no, but it's like, listen, it's TJ Levin who's like seen the worst wipeouts in BMX ever, and he's just like, mate, I've seen worse. Get up, you know.
Yeah.
And
keep riding.
Jeff is too. I don't know. Jeff has become very soft over the years, but any case, let's move on to the challenge, right? So talking about the challenge, we had Bananas do what Bananas does, right? Create some drama, do a bit of stirring after the club. Pulled Michele to the side, said, hey, watch out for Derek. I think Derek's playing you for the game. He's going to hurt you. And Michele obviously has had showmances with reality TV stars. I mean, we can talk about Wendell. We could talk about DK Chillin, I think she was seeing at one point. We can talk about whoever else she's seen. She's seen so many people on the challenge as well in this time. It's never gone well for her, and she's always seemed to go for the bad boys, the people who drop her. And this brings up certain things within her, and she has a conversation with Devin about it. And he has a bit of a reaction to this. So we see both of them go head-to-head in this moment. That was one thing. But I wanted to, and we'll come back to the Devin taking Bananas on. I really did not like how he spoke to Michele afterwards. Like, I felt like he came across as a real ass, telling her that, no, you're in your own head. I didn't say what I said. Why are you making this a big deal? And making her feel bad for the fact that he's the one who said what he said, like, you know, and he didn't own it up to it. I just didn't, that whole vibe, that whole dynamic seemed really off to me, the way that he approached her.
Yeah, Bananas is, as much as we were saying he's the GOAT, like, and I noticed he put a little proviso there, maybe not as a person, but in the game he is. And this is the exact thing, because he was so out of pocket for both things, for even saying that to Michele in the first place, to actually say that Devin might be just using you for the game is really shitty thing to say. Like, like I like how Devin said in his confessionals, I'm lucky to be with Michele. Like I don't know where Bananas is thinking that Devin is some god who's only using Michele. Like, unless he's doing it specifically and only to drive a wedge, then it's even worse. And otherwise, like, he just thinks the worst of people, probably because he's projecting that he would do that in a game. He has done that in this game. He does use people for the benefit of his game. So he sees that happening when other people do something. You know what I mean? Like, he's seeing his own motivations in what Devin is doing. And then to completely deny it, also back to Michele's face, like gaslighting the hell out of it, like she wasn't there. Like, you said it to me, like I was literally there, like I know what happened. Don't go saying that you said this, and like, that's what I hate. Like, I really, really did not like that. But I did like, first of all, Michele, I didn't like Michele saying it to Devin. That was stupid too. Don't even mention it to Devin. Like, why bring it up? But she was drunk, I'm assuming. I'm pretty sure she was. She had that glassy looking eye. And Devin was definitely drunk when he was saying, I'm going to go talk to him. How can I not? Blah, blah, blah. What I do like is the fact that he didn't. And they slept on it. Sort of didn't turn into a drunk fight. Like, later on that night, he actually went to sleep. And then the next day, I'm going to steal this for whoever I ever have issues with. So you'll know if you ever have issues with me, Chris, because when he just walks into the room and Devin just says, thin ice. I like that. That's great. Yeah. So there were some good things there, but Johnny Bananas was not. He did not come out good at all from any of that.
No, I didn't like it. I feel like he was the one that was being manipulative, not Devin. Sorry if I said Derek, not Devin in this moment, but I feel like Bananas was being manipulative. And he's done it many a times before. That is from the Bananas 101 playbook. Let's see what people are saying in regards to this. Bloody Money is saying Derek's on borrowed time. Fury Tiger is saying, I don't know why a lot of people are complaining about the daily challenge. I thought it really popped. Like that, Fiery Tiger. See what you did there. I liked it as well. And then Danica saying, I watched the challenge instead of Survivor last night. Same. I mean, I rushed home tonight to watch the challenge. And last week, I didn't even get time to watch Survivor until Sunday, my time. And it would have been available the Thursday in Australia. So I didn't rush to it. The only reason I will watch Survivor most likely after the podcast tonight is because we've got a public holiday in Victoria. It's AFL final. So I can stay up a bit later and watch it. And then, yeah, so apologies for that if I said Derek King Cash is saying, when did Vacation Alliance get a new handshake? We spoke about that a little bit earlier on. It's a strange thing they're doing. VA. And then Bloody Money is saying, Bananas is spooked because Devin is able to control the house. Danica saying, I think a lot of Era 1, some of Era 2 are Gen X and Xennials, older millennials, that they earned their trophies back in the day. And Brittany says, Bananas was definitely manipulative towards Michele, but she has no backbone. Why is she even wasting her time explaining herself to him? I think we spoke a little bit about this, Brittany, last week, that clearly Michele there's something with Michele where she seeks approval. And we've seen it with Survivor as well. Like, she won Survivor and then felt the need to prove something to fans afterwards because fans didn't think she deserved the first one, and it really destroyed her. And I think this is the same thing. She's seeking the approval of someone that has won 7 titles, and that is a big part of the challenge legacy, right? So, and that is why he's able to manipulate her, I think. Hollis is saying that's Bananas. And Danica saying they were both drunk. At least I will give Devin this. He did listen to Michele on the night, and he didn't address it on the night.
Yep.
He spoke to Bananas the next morning when he was sober, which was a good call because I feel like drunk Devin said, I want to go punch him.
Yeah, I was really worried.
Drunk Devin and Bananas have had it out for each other before in the past.
I didn't want that. I didn't want that again. Like, Cara, Laurel, to have Devin Bananas be a thing again would have really sucked. Like, that was one of those rivalries, or like at least that one night that they had where it got really dark because Devin just would not leave the man alone. And then Bananas said the thing about his dad and all that. I don't want to get to that point ever again because that would just felt really icky and gross to me watching it from both sides. I didn't really like either of them in that regard. And I kind of don't mind when they've got this like ceasefire, kind of like Bananas and Jordan, right? You know, they're not actually good together, but they have a respect. And I like that Devin is actually on the level to get that from Bananas. And they've called off for a long time now, aiming at each other. But Devin is like, I like how he said to Bananas as well. He goes, of course, everyone is going to go for you at some point, man. Like, but it's not happening now. And if you're trying to make it so it is happening now, you're in the wrong for that. Like, that was really cool from Devin. Like, Bananas actually being the GOAT, not getting a lot of love here. He looked like everyone else was kind of on Devin's side a little bit in the situation.
Oh, well, Devin's got his whole alliance there. And I think one of the reasons that Bananas freaked out the way he did towards Michele was they've got all the numbers and Josh is still in power. And I don't know if the nominations were even locked completely in at that point. Like, could Josh still have changed it to throw Bananas in? You know, and he was still in danger to potentially go in. So maybe that is why he overreacted in the way that he did within the game. And then Devin obviously sits close to that alliance that Josh is a part of. And I think Devin is a lot closer to Josh than what Bananas is, you know? So I think his game was in risk at this point, but I do want to move on from it and talk about the elimination. Like I said, I like this elimination a lot more compared to any of the previous ones where the outcome was kind of in doubt a little bit. I felt like the rules were really clear in this one. They had these balls that they had to throw into spikes on the opposite end, and there was an end zone that you could throw it into. Absolutely loved it from the sake that you had to make a very strategic decision on when is it best to throw and when is it best to defend. And I really enjoyed seeing Corey and Brad go up against each other in this one with Corey outsmarting Brad to a certain degree, you know, like throwing balls out of the arena towards the end when they were running out of balls, just defending it. And just sort of, I don't know, like, has Brad just lost it now? Like, he's had so many showings in recent seasons, pretty much, I feel like, since All-Stars, is it All-Stars 4, 3? All-Stars 3, where he was sort of flaked out as well. And then it's just, since then, it's not gone well for him. He came back as a champion in the previous season. That didn't go well. Love him as a character. He seems like a really good dude. He's really not the young kid that he was that Darrell had to put him in his place back then. Like, he's changed so much, and we've seen him grow, and obviously we love that. But is it just that point now where he's the athlete that's holding on too long? Like, he's trying to prolong his career, but he's coming back on reputation, but not delivering. Like, it feels a bit sad in some ways seeing him lose in this way. Not that Corey is a slouch. Corey's a legitimate athlete as well. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Look, the tough thing about this season is that there isn't a lot of weak opponents left anymore, right? As far as being legacy hurting sort of like matchups, there's not a lot out there. They had the trim the fat purge at the start to kind of get down to the 32, and now it just seems to be really good players left for the most part across the board. And yeah, I don't think it takes anything away from Brad. Again, like I said last week with CT, it was kind of just the matchup in the event, but Corey's beating like a lot of people. I know I'm saying that, which is a weird thing, but Corey beats most people in eliminations, right? He's got a positive record, and it's again one of those things where I guess there was strategy involved, and it's definitely a skill involved. I like that Corey said, you know, I played basketball, and you can see him actually doing chest passes and stuff. So yeah, Corey's a good competitor. Does it take away from Brad? In isolation, no. If you looked at this episode and this season even and said, is Brad, you know, past it? You would go, no, not necessarily. But when you go, we'll put this with All-Stars 4, All-Stars 3, you know, like his performance over the last couple of seasons he's been on, including coming in as a mercenary or champion or whatever, yeah, he hasn't looked good. It's starting to now build a resume in the negative, right?
Yeah. I mean, when you look at something like this, I'm going to give you a stat that's probably going to be shocking for you. Somebody that nobody wants to see in the eliminations is CT, right? CT's got a 6 out of 12 win record when it comes to elimination. So he's 50% win ratio when it comes to eliminations. Corey now has 9 from 13 after this episode, putting him at 69% of eliminations that he goes into, he wins.
Corey's actually, I'm getting a really gross feeling that Corey's looking really good this season. I'm like, he's gonna make me shut up.
Like
the season,
this is season, and like, and I mean, listen, statistically, like, I feel like we've spoken about in the past Leroy being the best to never win, which now it doesn't look that good because he's kind of hurt that legacy, coming back in the last couple of seasons, not doing so well. I would argue it could very easily now be someone like a Corey that could be up there with the fact that he's made so many finals. And I kind of want to see Corey win. I want to see him win one. Like, I'm kind of behind Team Corey. Like, I'm, you know, like, I want to see him get over the line. And also, it would be funny after, you know, you had such a big beef with Corey for so many seasons to see you eat your words slightly a little bit. And a 69% win record in eliminations is not bad. Like I said, it's a shit show when you go out there. You don't know what you're going to get. So hats off to him. I liked his strategy right off the bat. He used the basketball pass when he was doing it instead of going overarm. It didn't look easy for those balls to actually get punctured. Like, I feel like a few of them dropped off the spike as well. So you probably had to put a little bit of force into it to actually get it to stick. So there was definitely a technique that they needed to learn. Hats off to Brad. If we don't see him again, I hope we see him in an All-Star season. I don't know if we need to see him in the main show again.
He's probably not coming back to the main show. Like, as far as connections, age, performance, all that sort of thing, like, there's just no storyline there for someone like Brad in the main season anymore. I don't think. Like, he's not got the juice to pull. Like, what narratives and all that do they get for someone like Brad? I don't know. I do like in this challenge that Corey saw, like, there was strategy involved. Like, even though it's just these things with like spikes, much like if anyone is a basketball fan, they know that in the NBA, the most statistically best shot to take is a corner three because it's actually a little bit closer than the rest of the 3-point line. So if you're in the corner, it's not as far as if you're shooting it dead on the front. And it was the same as this. The corners of those spikes were actually closer than the middle bit. And Corey got all his balls on the corner bits as opposed to the middle, which is where Brad was kind of throwing at the start. So there's a little bit of that to it. So I kind of enjoyed that. But I do think that when Corey started getting rid of the balls, in my head I was like, oh, production just shit themselves just then. They're like, oh no, it's easily breakable. It's so easily breakable, right? As soon as I saw him do that, I was like, oh, I get it now. Like dodgeball. As soon as the thing goes, you just go along and take all the balls to your side. Just grab all of them, not out, just on your side. Push as many of them to your side as you can, and then they can't shoot any, right? You just take all of them.
Yeah.
You get one on.
Well, I was uncertain about when you look at this, right? They had two lines that they needed to grab from, and I was uncertain if you could grab from the opposing line or if you could only grab balls from your line of balls and then throw it. That was unclear to me, and I don't think throughout the episode I clearly saw how that worked. For instance, if you could only grab your own, then it wouldn't matter, and then it would be the equal amount of balls that you could shoot, right? I don't know if anybody else knew the rules around that, but that was something I noted.
Yeah, or maybe because it looked like they were just grabbing randomly, especially when it started going. And once they started throwing them, it was as long as the rebounds anywhere, it's game, right? So I can't imagine in the chaos of all that, they were like, I know you reached over and grabbed the one that was in front as opposed to the one behind,
Yeah, but I loved it. Like I said, visually it looked good. The second one was between Rachel and Janae. Janae, someone that has done one on All Stars, came up against Rachel. And one of the things I've always said personally is that I'm a fan whenever we come into drafts, Kahuna, I like to pick the person that has got something to prove in a draft, right? I didn't pick Rachel this season. I should have. I should have listened to my own rule when it comes to drafts. But, Rachel went out early against Cara Maria, so definitely she could hold her head up high going up against someone of Cara Maria's stature. And it was also, from memory, it was a very flunky elimination that she went out on. But
axe throwing was ninja stars.
Exactly. But I feel like Rachel coming back this season, it woke something up in her that I'm looking if Era 1's going to go down, she's going to be the last one standing in my mind right now. She's just
100%.
You know what I mean? It feels like you see the determination on her face as she's throwing this ball, and there's just something that's telling me that, like she said, she was starting to believe again and starting to feel like earlier in the episode, she said to someone, I can't remember who she spoke to, that Janae clearly is more invested in the challenge and cares more for the challenge than she does, because she's got a life outside of the game. She's got a profession. She's got a business, a profession. She came back for the fans. I hope fans appreciate the fact that Rachel didn't come back because she needed it. She came back because fans have probably been asking her for a long time, Rachel, we want you back on the show. She didn't come back, I think, purely for the love. But I think playing this game, she said, something woke up in her that just made her feel like she belongs here. She should be competing. And I don't know, I'm getting strong vibes from her. She's not going to go down easy. It's going to be between her, Jenny, Laurel, and Cara Maria. I'm very comfortable to say that she's starting to look good. And she dominated this elimination as well against Janae, who's also a two-time champion.
That's kind of what makes it even more impressive, is that, Janae is no slouch in herself, right? And I think the fact that what she said was actually pretty insightful, that Janae does care about what her legacy is on this game. And she said it in this episode that she never really did well in the main challenge. But she's obviously established her legacy based on All-Stars. To get back-to-back champion, there's that stigma of does it transfer? Yeah, you can beat All-Stars, but are you good on the main show, right?
Yeah.
And then when she was on USA 2, she got absolutely destroyed in elimination by Tori. she looked pretty good in World Championship when she was with Troy and Grant and stuff like that, right? Looked pretty good there, but got destroyed in USA 2. This season has not had a good season as far as performance goes, but then also last week doing that thing where refused to nominate herself and then gets picked anyway. And Corey's like, that's the worst possible thing that could happen. And then, like Rachel said, to actually care about it, wanting to make that name for herself in the main show instead of just All Stars, and then get destroyed by someone who hasn't been there in 10 years and then literally said, I don't care about this as much as them. Like, that's all just a little salt in the wound, you know what I mean? For someone that doesn't have the same desire, has been out of the game, you're trying to build your legacy and then boom, like destroy it. Like, it's even bigger. It's even bigger for Rachel, and it shows how good she is.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's read what people are saying. Danica's saying Wes has definitely been missed this season. And I totally agree. Like, if there's one person to make season 40 perfect, the way that they casted it would have been Wes. Like, he would have been the cherry on top of the cake to have him in here. And it would have been fun to see the dynamic between Devin, Wes, and Bananas play this season, I feel like. But you can't always have everything, Danica, so too much of a good thing can be a bad thing sometimes. So let's just appreciate the fact that we do get to see a lot of these players come back from different eras. Danica saying maybe Brad needs to shave the beard and get his mojo back. I'm actually I feel like Brad's a lot more skinny compared to what he used to be back in the day. I don't know what he would look like without the beard. The beard kind of gives him a fuller face. Brittany is saying good elimination. I love it when they combine physical and strategy. Danica saying he's playing hard and usually plays well, but there's something about him that just can't go further. Maybe he just needs to transition to All-Stars. That's Brad. Brittany saying Brad still did really well, though. Corey's lucky that Jordan gave him that strategy about throwing the balls out. Very true. I didn't know that it was Jordan who actually yelled that at him. I thought he came up with that on his own.
Jordan always sees angles, man.
Yeah, definitely. King Cash is saying really good players except Josh. And then Danica saying, but Corey often makes it to the finals. He just never actually wins. And then King Cash is saying Nelson was robbed by CT of his only chance to win. And then Brittany saying, I still think it's Leroy because he has better social game than Corey. The problem with Corey is he's good. He's just isn't the best at anything. He's always in the B tier. And then King Cash says, crazy change in history and legacy if Nelson beat CT on Invasion. Very true. Or what if Nani beat Laurel on Free Agents? Yeah, would have been different. Danica says they have had some different challenges which have been creative, and I appreciate that. They also seem a little more fair for different body types that we have playing. Very true. King Cash is also saying Rachel is hungry this season. You're going to need a Tori, Cara, Laurel to take her out. Very true. Brittany saying Janae did not do well at all. She needs to work on being more comfortable doing physical things. Rachel did great. Obviously, Janae was also shown up really bad by Tori in the Challenge USA. So that still sticks in my mind whenever I think about that clash between two champions as well. And then who else? Let's see what other people are saying here. I want Rachel, Cara, and Jenny in the finals. Does any woman have more than 2 wins? No, I think it's who wins the most for any woman.
Who wins most? Cara, Ashley, Laurel. Now that she won All Stars, if we count that,
so we don't count. We don't count champion. We don't count the challenge. What's the offshoot show that she won with Darrell?
Chance versus Stars. Yeah, I don't. It's only 2. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't, but I don't know what the official rules are.
It feels like these days they count everything, to be honest. Danica saying, I think you compare All Stars USA and MTV challenges equally. I'm not 100% okay with counting the Champs versus Stars and Champ versus Pros. Thanks, Danica. Lena agrees with that. And then say, I'm definitely 1000% against Laurel now since she made fun of redheads. Hashtag it's personal. I don't know. Laurel is just, she's going down, man. Like, she's just going down the spiral. The more she talks, the more she goes down, I feel like, in a lot of people's minds. But they had to nominate targets here in the end, with both Rachel and Corey winning. So they nominated for the ladies, Tina, Aviv, Naya and Michele finally stepped into the arena, feeling comfortable that she could take any of those ladies on because she said she would when she sees who's going in. It's a bit of an advantage that Era 4 has, Kahuna, that they always get to see who's nominated before them because they always start with Era 1.
Yeah.
Should TJ in the for the sake of fairness mix it up?
Yeah, maybe that's why everyone's lost all this time. The pagonging is because of that. Or Matt singing.
Yeah, they can't see.
Yeah, they got the disadvantage there. Pagonging.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's smart from Michele. It does, but I didn't even put 2 and 2 together because I know obviously Josh made his decision based on CT already going in, but I never realized that every week it's going to be the exact same process. That Era 4 tends to have the advantage there.
There was no other choice in Era 1. It was only Tina. So Tina was always going to go in. Aviv finally going in for her first time this season, I believe. Was it the second time?
I can't believe it's the first time, actually. No, it'll
Is
be
it
a
the
first time.
No, she was in against Darrell. Remember, Darrell tried to throw her under the bus. And again, Darrell is in this round as well. Wasn't it Aviv?
Right. Okay. Was it?
Yeah, it was Aviv.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because Aviv won fresh meats with him, right? And he was trying to throw her under the bus, and Darrell was back in at the same time that Aviv was in. So that's kind of hilarious. It might come back to play another role. And then you have Naya, who I think she's a bit of a beast when it comes to the physical side of things. So I don't know how comfortable Michele should feel about that. She should really hope that it's like something mental or a puzzle or something like that for her to win. Aviv does look like an athlete.
Avery's dodging again.
Avery is, yeah. How?
Like Avery was in the purge, right? She was in the first, like the mega thing. So she has done one, but Naya's done one more recently than Avery.
Yeah.
The rotation is for Avery now. I don't know how she's dodged that.
Yeah. And then for the men, you see Darrell, Nehemiah, who's just not got any friends in this game at this stage, so he's always going to be a sure target. And then Jordan nominates himself, and then probably the most confusing thing of all is Kylan nominates himself. I know Kylan came off a last season where he took out 3 champions. He was like the champion slayer. Yeah. Has that gone to his head a little bit where he now feels himself and he's like, I can take Jordan out. I don't have to be afraid of Jordan being down there.
I don't have a problem with it. It's not Jordan. I think he's looking at it going,
Darrell, you can take them.
Yeah, no, well, I think he's looking at it going, we have to come last. Like, we have to come last. Look at this. Look at Era 1 in every single daily. Like, we don't have to win because I think they could probably assume that they've got a pretty good relationship with Era 3 and there's a thing going on where they're kind of working together in a lot of intricate relationships and stuff. Jordan with Tori, with Devin, with Vacation.
I think Kylan is expendable.
Kylan is expendable. But I think that they would go Era 2 and Era 1 before Era 4. I think Era 4 and 3 kind of are not going at each other because they also know, like the whole thing of Era 1 can't offer anything because then it's not like they can go, well, when we win, we'll save you because there's no chance of them ever winning. But Era 4 and Era 3 are winning and they know, hey, we're going to win again, so don't mess with us when there's other options on the board.
I'm a little bit worried for Kylan. I don't know, like King Cash is just saying here, Joss and Jenny just burnt Era 3 Alliance. So I don't know, man. Like, will Jordan protect Kylan over Darrell, who he's played multiple seasons with, who he's got a lot of respect for? My mind goes back to when Jordan and Darrell. Maybe, but he's also played with Nehemiah, I believe, in All Stars, right? Darrell and Nehemiah won't turn on each other, I don't think, in this part of the game. So I don't know. Like, I don't feel as good for Kylan, but Michele may be the person. I don't know. It's I think there's a few variations where Kylan could be in trouble here. I don't know if this is the best lineup to nominate yourself for if things go wrong, unless you win it. And Era 4 have been winning a lot of dailies. Let's see what people are saying here. So Brittany's saying Evelyn and Veronica have 3. So that would make them. That would make. Why is Evelyn and Veronica not seen as the GOATs? Was it a lot of team Like Evelyn, I've heard a few times as a goat.
Veronica's
She's
definitely
like,
were, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Actually, I think Evelyn.
And
I
then
think they're all the team wins like that. But it was like Veronica's got team wins, but Evelyn's got team wins as well. But you could also tell that Evelyn was also a powerhouse. Like,
yeah,
there's someone carrying those team wins.
yeah. Brittany's saying I read Janae's exit interview, and she said that Tori was targeting her, which is interesting. Yeah, very interesting.
Especially with them not showing it, because if
Yeah,
Tori's doing stuff like that, production would love it.
yeah, but they're probably like, who cares? Like it's Janae and Tori. Like we've got Laurel and Cara going after each other. Like let's just keep focusing on those two.
Why
It's
would Tori
strange.
target Janae? Why
I
does
don't know.
Tori care about Janae?
Yeah, I don't know. Danica saying, I'm loving Tina. Her comeback these past couple of seasons with All Stars and now have been great. She's actually a personality we need on the show. I do like Tina. She's a lot of fun. She's getting fitter and fitter as well. King Cash is saying, why did Kylan volunteer? King Cash, if I knew that, I would be King Cash. Like, you should know that. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like
Well, Theo hasn't gone in either, right? Theo's missed out since the poorly Hall brawl. He hasn't gone back in the normal game.
yeah, true. They've skipped him.
Yeah.
And I forgot that Theo's playing the game after this episode. They didn't show him once in this last episode. It's crazy. Kylan is so dumb for volunteering. I honestly think he saw that Jordan was a target and is trying to get that moment. That's what I thought, Brittany. We're on the same drift. I feel like he's like, I've got this champion, that champion. Like, who did he beat? He beat Brad. He beat Darrell. And who else did he beat? He beat another champion. Was it, who was the other guy? I think it was like 3 champions he beat. Forgettable champion. But anyways, like he's feeling himself is what I think at the moment. Danica saying, sorry guys, voice texting is messing up my post. That's fine. King Cash is saying Janae ain't giving Jordan any karma points after all that yelling. Alina saying, I think Kylan may surprise us. It'd be interesting. King Cash is saying Josh and Jenny just burned that area. Yep, that's what we read out. Kylan may be expendable, but is Michele? I don't know. Michelle's the one that could keep him safe. Devin is not going to set Michele in. Yes, but Jordan doesn't have to listen to Devin. And Jordan isn't someone that really cares what other people think. I mean, if Jordan doesn't care what Tori thinks, he's not going to care what Devin thinks. Lena saying, Kylan and Nehemiah are getting close. I think he was scheming something. Could be. King Cash is saying Corey and Devin might throw the challenge. And then Brittany saying, other cast members have already accused Kylan for doing things for screen time. I genuinely think this is one of those times. Trying to be memorable. AK 47 in the live. Hello, welcome to the live. So yeah, that's the lineup for next week. I think we touched on all the main points here for this week. Kahuna, is there anything you wanted to talk about? Anything you feel like we didn't touch on?
No, I mean, Era 4 is just looking really dominant. Era 1 is just falling apart and crumbling. I don't know what's going to happen if we keep going. Like, karma points, but even just from the point of, is it going to stay teams for much longer when Era 1 has like 3 people left? Like, what happens when it's 3 versus 7? Like, do they break up the team soon? Does it go to individual? Like, that's what I'm curious about, because this format can get really weird. Like, if we're talking about pagonging, what if Era 1 is all completely gone? Like, what happens?
Well, this is what Danica is asking. Danica is actually asking, do you think if Derek leaves, they'll bring back one of the other players that have left already? And if they could bring anybody back, imagine CT getting a second chance coming back into the game. Like, the contestants would be fuming, thinking that they got rid of him, and then he rolls back in to replace a Derek. It would be less fun if it's just Brad and he's maybe still in the country, he hasn't left yet, and then he comes back. One thing I did forget to mention, one thing I found hilarious was them looking when they were out on the club scene and they were looking at the tallest building and they were talking about, oh, look at that, it's the tallest building. I think it's in Vietnam. So beautiful. And then the very next episode, you see Darrell up on that building having to do a heights challenge. And I was like, that's just poetic. Like, they're looking at it saying, oh, look at that building there. And then the next episode, he's like, don't get me in a plane or anything like that, but I'll do anything for Era 1. And then yeah, and then the very next episode, they're going to torture him with being on top of that big building, which we know Darrell hates doing. But Darrell, to his credit, I don't believe has ever quit any of this, right? Like, has he? Has he quit a heights challenge ever?
I think he has.
Maybe.
He
Maybe.
has. I
Maybe
don't
I'm
know,
wrong
but
on that one. But I
I
feel like
get the vibe
he
he
does
has,
most
but
of them.
he's been pretty good about conquering his fears. A lot better than other people do, anyway.
Yeah. Well, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody in the live that commented tonight, thank you so much. And this morning over in the US, we really appreciate all the comments. But if you're a late comer to the channel, and if you're someone that is just checking us out after the live, leave your comments in the section below. Let us know, what do you agree with, what do you disagree with, what did we miss? And let us know your thoughts on the season. I feel like it's been a really good season so far. I really enjoyed this episode. It was good that we didn't have anything controversial at the end of the episode where we had to be like, production maybe did something strange. If we can get a couple more episodes like that, I think it will be up there as a very enjoyable season by the end of it. But overall, we had a blast. So if you like this channel, if you like the chit chat that we have, you like seeing puppies on the live stream every now and again, you may see babies on the live stream, Kahuna always surprises us with that, then hit the like button, put the notification bell on. We'll be back next week at the same time. Everybody in Florida, please stay safe with the storm on that side there. We will be looking forward to having you in the live for one of our future lives. We've got Survivor content coming up, a recap with Drew and Jake, as well as myself, Kahuna, Mucky, and Tom will be back on Monday, our time, Sunday, your time, I believe, to talk about the latest episode of Survivor as well. So plenty of content still to come. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good day. Talk to you soon. Bye.